This is the Yints brothers again, this time with a review on a custom-made suit of samurai armor made by the Fangling Hanjia Armory in China. The Fangling Armory is perhaps best known for its work in certain movies like Mortal Kombat and The Last Samurai. I picked them largely because of the price factor. I didn't want to spend $10,000+ in a suit of true Japanese-made armor, and this quality seems to be up to par with a lot of those Japanese armories for about a fifth of the price. The Fangling Armory offers 3 different styles or quality levels of samurai armor. They have the lowest level, which is called the Kachi, which translates into foot soldier, which is lowest quality parts and pieces, all kinds of artificial satin and low quality cotton. They reduce a lot of the detail level. The paint is not quite as nice. And basically it's just, you have a suit of samurai armor, but you have nothing fancy to show for it. The next level up is the Gashira level, which translates into the officer. This uses a higher quality real silk and quality cotton materials for the lacings and other fabrics. The paint quality is much higher. It has a removable menpo, which is the nose guard, which allows you to breathe better in certain combat situations. It uses real leathers and suedes. But the biggest difference between the Gashira and the lower level is the metal quality. The metal that they use is probably still the same exact kind of plate steel, but it's the level of detail in which they put into it. The plate steel on the lower levels are just flat plates put on, sewed on however they want to do it depending upon the area. With the higher level, they use wave designs, cutouts, imprints, punches. They make it look a lot better. They include brass and copper ornamentation. They use real yak hair for the mustache below the menpo. Basically everything about it is just a higher quality, and for me the biggest difference was the lower level on the kote, the arms. They use a synthetic kind of material that makes it look like it's an artificial chainmail. In the higher levels, they use actual chainmail. And I wanted real armor, so I thought I should have real chainmail. And then one level up is the Taisho, which is the commander level. Basically, there's no significant difference between the two other than the construction of the helmet. The helmet of mine, the Kabuto, is a one-piece construction with rivets put in to replicate a bowl-style Kabuto. The higher level, officer or commander level one, they use a true riveted helmet that has 32 plates riveted together into a pumpkin-style Kabuto, which is far more, I guess you'd call it, authentic and higher quality. I could not justify the extra $700 that it would cost just to get a special helmet. The only other differences are a couple other straps that help put on the armor and make it a little more secure. And they also include a neck guard that's below the shoulders. It's basically a padded area that has little small dime or nickel-sized, roughly, plates sewn in to aid in neck protection. While my armor was being made, there was an issue in the factory with one of the craftsman's family members falling ill, so there was a delay in my armor being sent to me. To make up for this delay, they upgraded my Gashira level armor into what I'm going to call the Gashira Plus armor. It has all the same features as the Gashira armor, but it included all the features of the higher quality armor except for the more expensive Kabuto style helmet, which basically means they use a little bit better materials in certain areas, the paint job is a little bit better, and they also included that neck guard with the plates sewn in. In addition to those upgrades, they also threw in the armor display box and stand free of charge. The service of this armor is phenomenal. During about a course of 15 to 20 emails, I was able to describe exactly what I wanted, and they were able to meet all my expectations and all the little details and changes I wanted to have in my armor. I basically started with the Usui Kenshin Dragon Armor, which is their model number B012, except for I heavily customized all the paintings, joints. I even changed the style of arm guard and hand guard. I pretty much they let me do whatever I wanted to make it my own, which I appreciated. I will now begin a general overview of this armor. I'm going to stick mostly with English terminology because most of you probably won't care or know what I'm talking about if I speak Japanese. I might throw in a few words just on accident or for flavor. So here we have the Kabuto, which is the Japanese helmet. As you can see, there are ear guards. I have symbols painted a lot of places of this armor. This is the mask, or the menpo. The nose piece is actually removable for combat purposes. The mustache is actually real yak hair. The teeth are made kind of to make you look a little more demonic with a strong chin. Another factor that is important of the mask is the little hooks that are found on the sides. This is used when you're actually tying your armor on to keep the mask attached to your helmet, which in turn keeps the helmet onto your head. The head ornament I chose is actually a red oni, or a Japanese demon. I picked this because I thought it was the most ferocious and I liked it a lot, and I liked it more than the brass fittings. I thought they were too flashy and large and would get in my way too often. The only issue I have is they have a very long horn, almost 12 inches long, which does get away in some left to right transitions. Next we have the neck guard, which is called the shikoro. As you can see, it's made up of overlapping plates laced together. This gives you great mobility and also pretty good protection, as the upper edge of every one of these plates is bent outwards, so that way any strikes are brought to the next plate instead of allowed to go into your actual neck. As we move to the back, you can see the back of the ear guards as well as the extra long yak hair coming off of my ornament. You can see the artificial rivets put in to make it have a better effect on the bowl style kabuto, but you can see that it's just made up of one punched out piece of steel compared to the higher quality ones, which will have actual steel small plates, about 32 of them. But as you go down to the rear of the neck guard, you can see it's constructed the same as the front. Same basic construction, has small brass and copper ornamentation, and it has the same functionality of guarding you from thrusts and slashes. As we move down to the shoulder guards, which are the sode, you can see they're constructed the same, but you can finally see the wave style of steel cutouts that I was talking about earlier that is indicative of the higher quality steel finish that the two highest levels have. Otherwise, it's basically constructed the same, with small brass ornamentation right there and a kind of general decorative tassel. A feature I like to show about this armor is that if there's a glancing or direct blow from your neck guard or your shoulder guard, then there's a distinct metal ridge here that'll stop the blade from doing any sort of damage to your neck. But it is very possible that during combat your armor may be moved around into a less than ideal position to block incoming sword strikes. That's why that upgrade that's only typically found in the higher level armor is pretty nice. This padded shoulder guard with basically small scale sewn into it will actually add extra protection if your armor is moved in such a way that the actual armor won't protect you. This is minimal and it's not exactly the greatest armor in the world, but it's better than just having bare skin if it gets through your neck and shoulder guards. I have attached the shoulder guards to give you a general view of the actual arm guards, or the kote. These are a long sleeve style with Japanese silk below with small plates sewn in with chainmail between them all. As you get down to the elbow, you can see that it's mostly chainmail with one small guard plate. This is to give you the most flexibility as possible, which is ideal in Japanese style swordsmanship. As we move down to the forearm guard, you can see a distinct difference between mine and then the normal style Japanese armor. Most Japanese armors use thin, maybe half-inch wide plates that go up the entire forearm with chainmail in between them. I saw that they offered this wider style complete encasement of the forearm on a couple of their suits of armor, so I had them substitute my normal thin slabs in for these thicker slabs. Partly because I wanted the extra protection, and partly because I wanted to have these symbols painted on my forearms. As we move down, you move into the actual hand guards, which are articulated to give you a good grasp of your sword. I also had these special symbols punched into mine. And there's a guard that covers your thumb, the back of your hand, and then also the other side of your hand when you're gripping the sword correctly. These are attached by two loops, one on the thumb, one on the middle finger, which gives you a pretty good grip that'll protect your hand. Here we have the do of the suit of armor, or the cuirass, and it's like the main part of the body armor. It protects your chest and back and all your important vital organs. As you can see, it still has that raised bent edge that prevents swords from getting past the armor too easily. There's a nice cotton lacing done on the higher part of the chest with the brass and copper ornamentation. As you move down, there are horizontal steel plates riveted together. Now, to depart from traditional style armors, these are also spot welded to give you a little more rigidity and supposedly make it last longer and be stronger. I see no problem with that. I'm okay with taking modern technology to improve traditional designs, and I'd like that they kept the rivets in there to still give it a traditional look. I have the Musashi style 5 rings painted on my chest. This is done in a clamshell style, which basically means there is a door hinge style, almost like a shower actually, like some showers use nowadays, to close this side. And then on this far side, you just tie it in place to keep it closed. Here's a close-up of the seam that closes the clamshell on the left side of the body. They're interconnected in such a way that they hold it in place, and on the other side it's just a simple tie. It looks exactly like that, but there is no hinge on that side. Here we have the back of the cuirass, which is fashioned in much the same way with that same clamshell design. It has the ornamental lacing with the brass and copper ornamentation, which can be changed in such a way that you can actually have a large banner hanging from your back. It has the horizontal bands riveted together, as long as a distinct ridge down the center spine line, which is to aid in making it so that way it fits comfortably and is secure without any sort of extended movement. The cuirass attaches directly to the kasazuri, which is the skirt-style armor plates of samurai armor. They use an elongated cotton lacing to attach to the plates that resemble very much the same construction of the shoulder guards. One of the biggest problems I have with this style of armor is these laces are not hiding anything. There is no armor below this area, so your lower abdomen is completely exposed to thrusts and slashes. In theory, this cotton will absorb slashes fairly well, but I think a thrust to this area would do serious damage. This is just something you need to keep in mind when using samurai armor, that there are weaknesses that you can exploit if someone tries to target if you know what you're doing correctly. There is 3 plates of the skirt in the front, one to cover the general groin area, one for each side. Then as you go around, there's kind of one to cover your buttocks, and then a middle plate, and then one for the other buttocks as well. Because the skirt only covers about half your thigh, you then transition into the haidate, which is the true thigh guard. Here you see a overlapping segment of rectangular steel plates with designs punched in. These are all laced together to give overlapping protection. They're attached to Japanese silk, and the higher guard is actually just Japanese silk and leather that is covered by the skirt. So you go directly from a metal of the skirt directly into the metal of the thigh guard with no real transition to have a sword hurt you. At that point you have the Shin Guards, which there are 2 different kinds of Shin Guards from my understanding. This is what I would call almost like a cavalry style Shin Guard because it has this fixed knee, which gives great protection from lower strikes, but I feel like a sword glancing off of my thigh guards could get between the knee guard and cause me damage. Another large deterrent that I've noticed is that when you're wearing these, they extend from the knee about half an inch to an inch. This means that if you try and kneel or do anything on your knees, it puts a lot of pressure on the points where the shin guard is actually tied down and right there, which causes a great deal of pain and limits mobility, I feel, quite a bit. There is a different style which removes this completely and uses something very similar to what I was showing above with the neck guard underneath the actual shoulder guards. It's that padded material with small plates sewn in. These attach directly to the knee, and this I feel would give you great more mobility if a little less protection. But as you can see, I have a symbol painted on each kneecap, and then there's some lacing with rivets, and it's a nice reinforced ridge line that I would feel has great strength to stop any sort of blow. As you reach the bottom of the shin guards, you can see that it flares out slightly, but there's no sort of attachment for any sort of feet armor. That is simply because the Japanese did not have feet armor like their European knight-style counterparts. There are many different trains of thought and reasons why this is true, and I will go over that in a future video in the actual wear and use in fighting and fighting against armor. So that concludes the general overview of this armor. Now I do have some criticisms that I wish they would address in future versions.